Hello everyone! Today we are going to finish the illustration that we started last week, and I'm going to show you how I choose my colors and how I achieve a hand-drawn textured look in Illustrator, which is normally not very hand-drawn looking. So last week I showed you how I use the pen tool in Illustrator, and if you need or want to see that, you can go to last week's video and watch that. I'm going to also put it in the cards for easier access. And once you're all caught up, you can come back and continue with this one. And for everyone who are caught up, we can just get to it. So we are going to start by choosing colors, and I can talk about colors a lot because I love colors and they're one of my favorite things to play with. However, I'm not going to do that now because I want to keep it brief, and this is not so much about the colors as much as about the finished look. So we're not going to go too much in depth into it. I'm going to show you some quick ways to get really nice color palettes. And you can let me know if you want to hear more about color. However, I worry a little bit to talk about color because my personal approach to color isn't very scientific. I don't base it so much on the color wheel theory, although the final result still follows that I'm not doing something revolutionary out there. It's just that I didn't learn to work with color the normal way. I didn't study the color theory so much. I arrived at it in a more self-taught, intuitive way. So I feel like my way of explaining how I do it might be a little more confusing than someone who's done it the right way. But if you're interested in hearing how I come up with my color palettes, we can also talk about that in the future. So this is where we left off last time. This illustration, as you can see, is a little bit off. This is because this is a part of a bigger illustration that I'm going to create on my own. I'm just now working with this small bit so that these videos are not way too long. Also, a little something from last time, I noticed that I had an E that was missing in my blueberry writing. As you can see, there's an E missing, whatever, I added it. And now we can work with this. Okay, let's talk about the color. When it comes to color, I usually think about it one of two ways. Do I want to go the realistic route, or do I want to go in a more abstract, illustrative, decorative, more free way? And for me, the answer usually is I want to go the crazy route. So here we have a little illustration of blueberry. It's also a stamp. I don't feel like it needs to be 100% realistic. It's also not going into some kind of botanical journal or whatever, so it doesn't have to really reflect the real plant. So we are free to do whatever we like. But if we were to go the realistic way, it's easy. Blueberries are blue or purplish, blue, purple, leaves are green, down, kind of. So let's go the more interesting way. As I said, this can be a very long talk, which I don't want, so I'm going to show you the shortcut. So in Illustrator, you can go to Window, where is this thing? I think it's this. The icon looks like this. Usually when you open it, it will show you this color wheel thing where you can create your own palettes. The quick and easy way that we're going to go for is this Explore tab. So these are palettes from other people that they have saved, I believe, and you can choose all themes or most popular. I usually go for most popular because they usually look the best. You can also search some palettes from here, like this, and choose based off of these. I would recommend, and what we are going to do right now, is to look into the most popular ones. So I'm trying to picture in my head how would this image look using this palette, for example. And I guess this is something that you sort of build up over time with experience. If you can't picture it in your head, you just need to spend a little more time playing with it. So I'm going to be taking some of these palettes here But before that, I actually want to go in here and clear this up because these colors here don't interest me. I actually did it by clicking on the first one and the last one, holding Shift down, and then I delete it. So I start looking in here and see what I like. I think this could be very nice and fresh, at least this part maybe. But it's very straightforward and obvious, which is a bit unexciting for me. I also really like this bit of this palette, the blue, white and red. Blue and red are my absolute go-to. I love that combination. I think there is something interesting happening in here. So I also really like going for minimal, limited color palettes. So that's really exciting for me when, for example, you have only 3 colors and you have to sort of translate some real-life colors into the colors that you have available. For example, as I said, I very often go for palettes that have red, blue, and some kind of more neutral, let's say grayish, whitish tone, like this thing here. So for example, if you have nature, plants and things like that, normally they're green, but I don't have green in my palette, and I imagine that there's no way for me to get green, so I have to make it work with the colors I have. So very often I'm going to use blue to replace green because it's the closest color. Basically, green contains blue, and that way you get some pretty interesting things happening, or I think they're interesting. So continue to scroll here, and this is kind of interesting to me. Something about it sort of calls to me, so I'm going to go down here and say add to swatches, and it pops up here so I can play with it later. But I'm still not satisfied. This one is a little too analogous, I think these are called, for me, meaning that they're basically all colors that are sort of next to each other on the color wheel. Well, I'm personally a huge fan of complementary colors, meaning colors that sit opposite to each other on the color wheel. Peek actually here, yeah, you can see complementary. So yeah, palettes like this, yes baby, that's the way. Let's go back. Yes, there is something in this palette. As you can see, I'm very drawn to the blue and the red, and I think it's particularly interesting since blueberries are kind of purple, and purple is a combination of blue and red. So there is something there. I like this one, but I don't really see it on blueberries. This is also very nice, but I also like this, but it's not right for this image, I don't think. I'm liking this. I think this can work. Let's drop it in there. And at one point you need to stop because you can be scrolling here all day long. I quite like this, but not for this image. Actually, earlier I had a look and I saw a palette that I really liked, and I was thinking that, yeah, later I'm totally going to go for this one, and now I can't see it. That's annoying, but it's okay. Something interesting about this one. Let's grab this one. I said I'm going to work with a limited palette, and you can now see I have all these different colors, but I'm not going to use all of them, obviously. We're going to stick with probably about 3 colors, we'll see. Anyway, I think we have enough. But yeah, at this point we might make a decision whether we want to keep the outlines or not have outlines. Lately I've been liking having outlines, so I'm going to keep that, but they're not going to be red, that's for sure. I think I'm currently most interested in this palette here because it's very unlike what I usually go for, so I'm thinking particularly those 3 colors, maybe also the white. So let's make the outlines. It's dark purple, and I'm going to get the direct selection tool because last time we made this into 2 groups and I don't want to have to go inside the groups every time, and this is going to allow me to select the shape that's inside the group, but I don't have to go all the way inside the group. But You can also do that with the selection tool, just V, and double tap, double click, and we are inside, can select all these things. When we are outside, we can only select the group as a whole. But let's do the direct selection tool. So the blueberries, one of them is going to be this dark purple. You can also go and look at some pictures of blueberries as a reference, so you can see how they aren't all ripe at the same time. Some are darker, some are more pinkish, some are green, and that could be fun to play with. So if I make all of them purple, it becomes just one big blob, which I don't like, and we can fix that with some shading, with some outlines, but I'm not going to go so deep into shading and all that stuff right now. So another way to do it is by just making them different colors. So this one is going to be a bit lighter, and this one is maybe not ripe yet. And then we will do the leaves. Let's make that one green. This one, if I make it green, we get a bit into this blob problem again. We have outlines, so it's not the end of the world, but I would like to keep it a little more dynamic, I guess. And if we look at our reference, you'll see that the leaves also come in different colors. So maybe no. Actually, you know what? Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's throw in some yellow maybe. These are usually darker. This I think will be nice to make white. I don't like using pure white and black. I usually use very dark blue or very dark red to replace black, and very light gray, maybe yellowish gray or reddish gray or gray with some kind of tint to replace white, because I just think it's a bit more dimensional this way. I think pure black and white are a bit boring. What should this be? I can also make it So this is a bit of a playing around. You just try different things and see what works best. I feel like this is too solid, so it could be nice to have something breaks it up a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes you gotta try. I feel we have too little of that yellow. If we're going to have yellow, what about red? Or could be. So I'm actually kind of liking this. I feel though that we need something else being yellow as well. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. So we might come back to color later, we'll see. But now let's look into the whole handmade and finished look. To achieve that, we're going to use some brush strokes that resemble pencil or crayon look. And to get these, we're going to come here in our brush tab, and you can go here, open brush library, to artistic, and then chalk and charcoal, and you'll get all of these. However, there are some slight problems with this, which is why I have made my own little tweaks to them here. So basically, what the problem is, let me show you. So I'll give them the same brush strokes. This is basically the exact same brush stroke, but this is the one that comes with Illustrator, and this is the one that I have tweaked myself. And what is the difference? You will notice when we get really close, you'll see that even though both of those have the exact same stroke color, this one appears a little bit lighter, so it doesn't look like it's part of the same shape, while here it is the same color. So to achieve what I want, we need it to be this way. We need it to be the exact same color as the fill shape. And what is actually the problem? The problem is that if you go here, this is the brush strokes or the brushes that come with Illustrator. If you drag this out, you get this sort of sample brush that this is based off of. And if we get inside this and look at the color, you will notice that this is not pure black. This is very close to pure black, but it's actually very, very dark gray. And this is why when it's turned into brush and applied to an object, the color of this stroke is going to appear a little bit lighter. So to fix that, you can fix it by yourself. What we need to do is, we are inside this brush stroke right now, and to make sure we have all of it, we are going to select same fill color, so all bits and pieces of it are selected. We are going to come here and edit it to pure black, so that means 6 zeros. Okay, we're going to get out of it and create our own brush. This is very easy. We're going to do it this way. We are going to select this thing, drag and drop into the brush window. We're going to get a question what kind of brush we want to create, and what we want is an art brush. Okay, here what we want is the colorization to be, I believe, tints is the right answer. Everything else I think is as you want it to be. I like my corners to not be sharp, so I usually choose this. I think everything else is fine. Yeah, let's just go with OK. And now if we go here again and change this brush stroke to this one, which is the one we just created, we can see that it is now part of the object. So it just kind of looks like we drew this object with a brush, and it has this lovely little texture. So this is how you can make your own variations of the brushes that you get together with Illustrator that will behave more like we want them to behave. So, and this is why I use these brushes that I have edited for myself. And what are we going to do here is we're going to select this whole thing and give it this style, and already it starts to look a little more hand-drawn. So a few little adjustments, like maybe I think this would look better if it's the same color. I think this one, the stroke, we can make a little thinner. I also like to choose this different, maybe actually go this way. Now let's have a slight outline. This text here, I think it's too thick. Can make the outline a bit thinner. As for the illustration, maybe I like to have a bit of a variations where some objects are outlined and some are not. I think something like that looks good. And now I want to add a little bit more character, and I'm going to do that with a brush. And remember, I told you that brush creates way too many anchor points, which is not great. But in this case, we're going to use the brush very minimalistically and for just tiny little touches, so it's not going to be a problem. For this step I usually use the tablet, but it can also be done with the mouse. So we are going to select our outline color, which is this dark purple, and the same stroke, and another little touch would be this profile. I like this one because it looks more natural somehow. And I'm going to give some little touches here and there. Okay, I'm going to make this one a little thinner. And now I've lost all the adjustments to my brush. Oh well, like this. So I like to make this little, I don't know what to call them, sort of like, maybe we can imagine that this is the texture of the paper. They're these small, what do you call them, fibers inside the paper. So tiny little accents here and there that I think give a really nice character to the illustration, and just a little bit of texture and a little bit of life. At least I think so. There's no rule where to place these. I'm trying to keep it balanced so there aren't too many in one place. I usually like to go with two like this, and I usually make them all in one color, in the main outlining color, but sometimes I would sort of variate on that a little bit. So maybe adding a little bit of a glow there. So yeah, I don't really know what to call that. To me, it's just kind of like a little bit of style and character. And I think this is where I'm going to finish this. So this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope there was something useful in it that you can take for yourself. And let me know if you have any questions, write them down in the comments. Also, let me know if there is anything more you'd like to hear more on. Was I too quick or too slow? Do you want to hear more about color? Anything, just let me know. And that was all for this time, and I'll see you next week. Until then, have fun!